Bitcoin is trading at $98,000 in the United States right now, but in Argentina, it's $112,000, a 14% premium. Inflation is running at 150% to 180% annually. Citizens are limited to buying $200 in US dollars per month. Banks have frozen withdrawals. Bitcoin is the only escape, and Argentines are paying a 14% premium to get it. This is the canary in the coal mine for the global currency crisis. This is the most important Bitcoin story right now, and almost nobody in the West understands it. The Bitcoin premium in countries like Argentina, Nigeria, and Lebanon isn't just a curiosity. It's a real-time measure of currency collapse and capital control desperation. In the next 13 minutes, I'll show you why Bitcoin trades at massive premiums in crisis countries, what it means for the global financial system, and why this premium will eventually pull the global Bitcoin price to $150,000 to $1,000 or higher. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Tomorrow I'm releasing how to profit from the Bitcoin premium trade. Let's go. To understand why Bitcoin trades at a premium in certain countries, you need to understand capital controls and currency collapse. In a healthy economy with a stable currency and free capital markets, Bitcoin trades at roughly the same price everywhere because arbitrage traders exploit any price differences. If Bitcoin is $100,000 in New York and $105,000 in London, traders will buy in New York, sell in London, and pocket the difference until prices converge. But in countries with capital controls, currency collapse, and banking restrictions, arbitrage breaks down. Argentina is the perfect example. The Argentine peso has collapsed from approximately 200 pesos per US dollar in early 2023 to over 1,000 pesos per dollar by January 2026, a loss of over 80% in less than 3 years. Inflation has been running at over 150% annually, with some months exceeding 200%. The government, desperate to preserve foreign currency reserves and prevent capital flight, has imposed strict capital controls. Argentine citizens are limited to purchasing $200 worth of US dollars per month through official banking channels. Any attempt to move money out of the country is blocked, taxed, or confiscated. Savings accounts have been frozen in the past, most famously during the 2001 Corralito crisis, when the government locked all bank deposits for months, then converted dollar deposits to pesos at a confiscatory exchange rate. Argentines lost their life savings overnight. Today, the official exchange rate is manipulated by the government and does not reflect reality. The black market dollar, known as the blue dollar, trades at a significant premium to the official rate. But even the blue dollar is hard to access in large quantities. Bitcoin, by contrast, is borderless, censorship-resistant, and cannot be confiscated or frozen by the government. It's the ultimate escape valve. When an Argentine wants to protect their wealth, they turn to Bitcoin. But because they cannot easily send pesos abroad to buy Bitcoin on US or European exchanges, they must buy locally through peer-to-peer platforms like Local Bitcoins, Paxful, or Binance P2P. Sellers on these platforms know that buyers are desperate and have no alternatives, so they charge a premium. That premium reflects the true cost of escaping a collapsing currency and an authoritarian financial system. As of early January 2026, Bitcoin is trading at approximately $98,000 on US exchanges like Coinbase and Kraken. On Argentine P2P platforms, the price is approximately $112,000, a 14% premium. In Nigeria, where the naira has lost over 50% of its value and capital controls are similarly strict, Bitcoin trades at a 15% to 20% premium. In Lebanon, where the banking system collapsed in 2019 and depositors lost access to their savings, Bitcoin trades at a 25% premium. In Venezuela, where hyperinflation has destroyed the believer, Bitcoin premiums exceed 30%. These premiums are not anomalies. They are the real price of financial freedom when governments destroy currencies and trap citizens in failing systems. Here's the unfair part. If you live in the United States or Europe with access to stable banking systems and free capital markets, at the same time, Western investors who dismiss Bitcoin as speculative or unnecessary have no concept of what it's like to live under capital controls, hyperinflation, and banking crises. They take for granted that they can access their savings, move money freely, and hold assets in a relatively stable currency. For billions of people worldwide, those freedoms do not exist. Bitcoin is not a speculative investment for them. It's a life raft. Meanwhile, mainstream financial media in the West portrays Bitcoin as volatile, risky, and used by criminals. But in Argentina, Nigeria, and Lebanon, Bitcoin is stability. It's the one asset that cannot be confiscated, frozen, or devalued by a corrupt government. The narrative disconnect is deliberate. Keep Western retail investors scared and skeptical while citizens of failing states adopt Bitcoin out of necessity and drive the next wave of global demand. Let's break down the data. According to Chainalysis and AAA crypto adoption reports, Argentina has one of the highest rates of cryptocurrency ownership per capita in Latin America, with an estimated 15% to 20% of the population owning or using crypto as of 2025. This is driven entirely by currency instability and capital controls. The Argentine peso exchange rate has collapsed from approximately 200 pesos per US dollar in January 2023 to over 1,000 pesos per dollar by January 2026. This represents an 80% devaluation in less than 3 years. The official exchange rate set by the government is often 10% to 15% stronger than the black market blue dollar rate, reflecting currency manipulation. Argentina's annual inflation rate reached 211% in December 2023, according to INDEC, the National Statistics Agency. Projections for 2025 and 2026 estimate inflation between 150% and 180% annually, despite President Javier Milei's austerity measures. Monthly inflation has ranged from 10% to 25%, meaning prices double every few months. Capital controls limit Argentine citizens to purchasing $200 worth of US dollars per month through official channels, and even that is subject to a 30% tax. Larger purchases are prohibited. Wire transfers abroad are blocked or heavily taxed. These restrictions have been in place with varying severity since 2019. Bitcoin price data from local Bitcoins and Binance P2P platforms shows consistent premiums in Argentina. In early January 2026, while Bitcoin traded at approximately $98,000 on Coinbase, Argentine P2P platforms showed prices ranging from $110,000 to $114,000, an average premium of 14%. During periods of acute currency stress, premiums have spiked to 20% or higher. Nigeria shows similar patterns. The naira has depreciated from approximately 460 naira per dollar in early 2023 to over 900 naira per dollar by late 2025. Bitcoin premiums in Nigeria average 15% to 20% on P2P platforms. Lebanon's banking crisis, which began in 2019, resulted in depositors being locked out of their accounts, with withdrawals limited to a few $100s per month. Bitcoin premiums in Lebanon have exceeded 25% consistently since 2020. Venezuela, suffering from hyperinflation exceeding 1,000% annually, sees Bitcoin premiums of 30% or more on P2P platforms. Currency collapse and Bitcoin adoption follow a predictable pattern. In 2013, Cyprus faced a banking crisis and depositors were bailed in, forced to absorb losses to save failing banks. Bitcoin spiked as Cypriots sought alternatives. In 2015, Greece imposed capital controls during its debt crisis, limiting ATM withdrawals to €60 per day. Bitcoin premiums appeared in Greek markets. In Venezuela, as hyperinflation destroyed the bolivar starting in 2016, Bitcoin adoption exploded. By 2020, Venezuela had one of the highest Bitcoin trading volumes per capita in the world, despite being one of the poorest countries. In Nigeria, after the government banned banks from servicing crypto exchanges in 2021, P2P Bitcoin trading volumes surged and premiums widened as citizens sought to bypass restrictions. The pattern is consistent. Government currency mismanagement and capital controls drive Bitcoin adoption and create premiums. The premium is a measure of desperation. How much citizens are willing to pay to escape their own monetary system? Signal 1. Watch for Bitcoin premiums in Argentina to exceed 20%. If desperate buying pushes the premium above 20%, it signals that the peso is in terminal collapse and capital flight is accelerating. This would likely precede a formal dollarization or currency redenomination. Signal 2. Watch for premiums in Nigeria, Lebanon, and Turkey to spike above 25%. If multiple emerging markets simultaneously show 25% plus premiums, it confirms contagion in a broader emerging market currency crisis. This would be a precursor to capital controls spreading to larger economies. Signal 3. Watch for capital controls to be imposed in major emerging markets like Brazil, Turkey, or South Africa. If governments in these countries restrict dollar purchases or freeze bank accounts, Bitcoin premiums will appear immediately and adoption will accelerate. Signal 4. Watch for the global spot price of Bitcoin to break $120,000. As premiums in emerging markets persist, they create arbitrage opportunities that gradually pull the global price higher. If Bitcoin breaks $120,000 globally, it confirms that emerging market demand is driving the next leg of the bull market. The fundamentals are clear. Over 3 billion people live in countries with unstable currencies, capital controls, or failing banking systems. For them, Bitcoin is not speculative, it's necessary. Argentina's peso has lost 80% of its value in 3 years. Inflation is 150% to 180%. Citizens can only buy $200 per month in dollars. Bitcoin is the only way to preserve wealth and escape the collapsing system. When your government can freeze your bank account, confiscate your savings, or devalue your currency by 50% overnight, A 14% Bitcoin premium is not expensive. It's a bargain. As more countries face currency crises, capital controls, and banking failures, Bitcoin premiums will spread and widen. Eventually, those premiums pull the global price higher as arbitrage opportunities drive capital flows. This is how Bitcoin goes from $98,000 to $150,000 or $200,000. Not from Wall Street hype, but from desperate people in failing states willing to pay any price for financial freedom. Risk 1. If you live in a country with capital controls and want to buy Bitcoin at a premium, you're exposed to counterparty risk on P2P platforms. Use escrow, verify sellers, and move Bitcoin to self-custody immediately. Risk 2. Governments can and will crack down on Bitcoin. China banned it. Nigeria restricted it. If your government bans exchanges, premiums will widen, but access will become harder. Risk 3. Buying Bitcoin at a 14% premium means you're starting 14% underwater. You need Bitcoin to appreciate 14% just to break even in dollar terms. But if your local currency collapses another 50%, that premium is irrelevant. Smart play. If you live in a stable currency zone, buy Bitcoin now at $98,000 before emerging market premiums pull the global price to $120,000 or higher. Western media will tell you Bitcoin is too volatile, too risky, only for speculators. Meanwhile, 3 billion people in failing currency zones are paying 14% to 30% premiums to escape monetary tyranny. Who's right? The comfortable Western financial advisor who's never experienced capital controls, or the Argentine who watched their government confiscate savings twice in their lifetime? Trust the people with skin in the game. Scenario 1, 45% probability. Argentine premium persists at 12% to 18% through 2026. Other emerging markets show 10% to 15% premiums. These premiums gradually pull global Bitcoin price to $150,000 by year end. This is the base case. Scenario 2, 35% probability. Argentine peso collapses further. Premium hits 30%. Contagion spreads to Brazil, Turkey, and South Africa. Capital controls expand. Global Bitcoin spikes to $200,000 within 12 months. This is the crisis scenario. Scenario 3, 20% probability. Milei's reforms stabilize Argentina. Capital controls are lifted. Premium normalizes to 5% or less. Bitcoin consolidates between $90,000 and $110,000 through 2026. This is the optimistic scenario. Timeline, watch Q1 and Q2 2026. If Argentine premium exceeds 20%, the crisis is accelerating. Bitcoin is $98,000 in the US, but $12,000 in Argentina, a 14% premium. The peso lost 80% in 3 years. Inflation is 150% to 180%. Capital controls limit citizens to $200 per month. Bitcoin is the only escape. Nigeria, 15% to 20% premium. Lebanon, 25%. Venezuela, 30%. These premiums reflect the real price of financial freedom. Watch 4 signals. Argentine premium exceeds 20%. Other markets hit 25%. Capital controls spread to major economies. Bitcoin breaks $120,000 globally. Emerging market desperation will pull Bitcoin to $150,000 or higher. Buy now at $98,000 before the premium spreads globally. Subscribe for tomorrow's How to Profit from the Bitcoin Premium Trade. Comment, what's Bitcoin trading at in your country? Let's go.